How does childhood shape the adult you become? From the moment you are born, your brain is wiring itself in response to your environment, your relationships, and the messages you receive. Those early experiences leave deep marks on the way you think, feel, and behave as an adult. Some of those marks are positive, giving you resilience, empathy, and confidence. Others can be painful, shaping patterns of self-doubt, anxiety, or mistrust that follow you into your adult life. Childhood is the foundation of the human mind. Think of it as wet cement. In those early years, impressions are pressed into you and then harden as you grow. The way you were treated, the love you received, or didn't receive the safety of your home, the encouragement or criticism you absorbed, all become part of how you see yourself and the world. Psychologists have spent decades studying the connection between childhood and adult mindset. Attachment theory shows us how the bond with caregivers shapes later relationships. Developmental psychology demonstrates how encouragement or neglect during different stages of growth affects confidence and identity. Neuroscience reveals how repeated experiences literally wire pathways in the brain that influence adult decision-making. Childhood is not just a stage you pass through, it's the blueprint for the adult mind. Consider attachment. A child who feels safe, loved, and supported usually develops what's called secure attachment. This creates an adult who trusts others, manages emotions effectively, and believes they are worthy of love. On the other hand, children who grow up with inconsistent care, neglect, or abuse may develop insecure attachment patterns. As adults, they may struggle with trust, fear, abandonment, or crave closeness, while simultaneously pushing it away. These patterns play out in friendships, romances, and even workplace dynamics. Childhood also teaches you how to interpret yourself. If you were celebrated, encouraged, and supported, you likely internalized the belief, "I am capable." But if you were constantly criticized, compared to others, or dismissed, you may have developed a mindset of inadequacy. Those early voices often become the inner voice you hear as an adult. For some people, that voice is encouraging. For others, it is harsh and judgmental. The messages you receive about emotions as a child also shape how you deal with feelings. Later on, children who are allowed to express sadness, anger, or joy freely tend to become adults who are comfortable with emotions. Children who are told, "Stop crying, don't be angry, or be quiet," may grow into adults who suppress feelings, struggle with vulnerability, or feel ashamed of natural emotions. The adult mindset is, in many ways, a mirror of the emotional environment of childhood. Another way childhood impacts adult life is through modeling. Children don't just listen to what parents say, they watch what they do. If you grew up in a home where conflicts were handled calmly, you probably learned problem solving and communication. If you grew up in a home where shouting, avoidance, or even violence were common, those patterns may feel familiar in adulthood. Even if you don't want to repeat them, they often become the default setting. Childhood is also where beliefs about the world are formed. If your environment was safe, predictable, and nurturing, you may see the world as trustworthy. If it was chaotic, frightening, or inconsistent, you may approach life with hypervigilance, always waiting for something to go wrong. These worldviews are not conscious choices, they are automatic programs, written in childhood and running silently in adulthood. Of course, not everything is determined by childhood. People are capable of growth, healing, and change. But it's important to acknowledge just how powerful those early years are. Studies of adverse childhood experiences, often called ACEs, show that exposure to trauma, neglect, or abuse in childhood is linked to higher risks of depression, anxiety, addiction, and even physical health problems later in life. At the same time, research on resilience shows that supportive relationships, even with just one caring adult, can buffer the effects of adversity and help children grow into thriving adults. Think of the role of praise and criticism. A child who is consistently encouraged develops self-efficacy, the belief that they can take on challenges and succeed. A child who is only criticized may internalize failure as part of their identity. In adulthood, one person confidently tackles opportunities, while the other hesitates, convinced they will fail. The same pattern repeats across countless aspects of life: relationships, career, creativity, and self-worth. Family dynamics play an enormous role. The roles children take on in families often follow them into adulthood. The caretaker child may grow into an adult who always puts others first, sometimes to their own detriment. The rebellious child may become an adult who resists authority and struggles with rules. The invisible child may turn into an adult who feels overlooked and undervalued. These roles are survival strategies in childhood that often persist long after they are needed. Childhood also influences how you handle stress. If you grew up in a home where challenges were met with support, you probably learned coping strategies. If you grew up in chaos, stress may feel overwhelming and trigger fight, flight, or freeze responses. Adults who had unpredictable or unsafe childhoods often carry a heightened stress response into daily life. This can make small setbacks feel like catastrophes because the nervous system is primed to expect danger. The way love was shown in childhood shapes how love is given and received later. If affection was freely given, you may believe love is safe. If it was conditional, you may think love must be earned. If it was absent, you may doubt whether love is real or lasting. These beliefs don't disappear as you grow older, they guide how you approach intimacy and vulnerability. Even money mindset can be traced back to childhood. If you grew up in financial security, you may see money as a tool for opportunity. If you grew up in scarcity, you may view money as a source of anxiety, or hoard it out of fear. If your parents modeled reckless spending, you may repeat the same pattern without realizing why. Childhood sets the template for how adults think about security, abundance, and risk. One of the most important truths about childhood impact is that children don't need perfect parents. They need good enough parents, caregivers, who provide safety, love, and responsiveness most of the time. Perfection is impossible, but consistency is powerful. Even so, when those needs are not met, children adapt in ways that often carry forward. For example, a child ignored when upset may learn to hide emotions to avoid rejection. As an adult, that person may struggle to ask for help or express vulnerability. Trauma in childhood can echo loudly in adulthood. Abuse, neglect, bullying, or unstable homes can create deep wounds. Many adults who grew up with trauma find themselves battling anxiety, depression, or relationship struggles decades later. Trauma tells children, the world is unsafe. You cannot trust others. Those lessons remain until they are consciously unlearned. Yet, healing is possible. Therapy, support systems, and self-awareness can help rewrite the old scripts. It's also worth recognizing that positive childhood experiences have lasting benefits. Supportive parenting, encouragement, stability, and love lay the foundation for resilience. Children who grow up feeling safe and valued often carry confidence and adaptability into adulthood. The impact of nurturing is just as powerful as the impact of neglect. The brain science of childhood is clear. Early experiences create neural pathways that become habits of thought and behavior. If a child is often comforted, pathways of trust and calm develop. If a child is often criticized, pathways of fear and self-doubt develop. The brain is plastic, meaning it can change, but the earliest wiring often sets the tone. All of this leads to a vital point. Your upbringing is not your destiny. It is your starting point. While childhood shapes adult mindset, adults can choose to examine those patterns, heal, and grow beyond them. Awareness is the first step. When you recognize that your self-doubt, your fear of abandonment, or your perfectionism comes from childhood lessons, you can begin to question them. Do these beliefs serve me now, or are they echoes of the past? Protecting children today means shaping healthier adults tomorrow. When parents provide consistency, empathy, and validation, they plant seeds of resilience. When communities support families and nurture children, they reduce the long-term impact of trauma. Each moment of connection, kindness, and encouragement in childhood ripples forward into adulthood. As an adult reflecting on your own childhood, the question is not whether it shaped you, it did. The real question is how. Were you taught to trust or to fear? To love yourself or doubt yourself? To see the world as safe or unsafe? Answering these questions helps you understand the lens through which you view life. And once you understand that lens, you have the power to change it. Healing the inner child, seeking therapy, surrounding yourself with supportive people, and practicing self-compassion are ways to shift an adult mindset shaped by painful experiences. You cannot change the childhood you had, but you can change the story you tell about it and the patterns you carry forward. Childhood is the foundation of the adult mind. It is the soil from which your beliefs, behaviors, and identity grow. Some soil is rich, some is rocky, but growth is always possible. Understanding how your upbringing shaped you is not about blame, it is about awareness. With awareness comes choice, and with choice comes